Summer of Soccer rolls on here in Charlotte. We have the MLS All-Star game coming to Bank of America Stadium for the first time in Charlotte FC's very young history, alongside Nick Carboni and soccer analyst for Charlotte FC, Tonio Ramos. We're going to start this one off because we've got an hour of pregame special ahead of the MLS All-Star match, as the MLS All-Stars are getting ready to take on the Liga MX All-Stars. Starting just, Tonio, I mean, Charlotte FC's only 5 seasons in right now, and to have a match like this, what does it kind of mean for the city?
You know, to me, it's a reward for what this city means in U.S. soccer, and being a spotlight over the last years, having a Copa America here, the Club World Cup, a lot of international games, Charlotte FC every Saturday. So it's Don Garber rewarding to what the Tabor organization has done for soccer in the Carolinas, and I just can't wait to the game to start. I've been seeing, you know, fans with jerseys from MLS teams, Liga MX teams, national, you know, teams. So after a World Cup, it couldn't be a better moment just to have this All-Star game here in the Queen City.
Listen, it joins a list of soccer competitions that we have hosted here, from international friendlies to Copa America and other tournaments, Club World Cup, U.S. men's and women's national teams. Not where does it rank, but how significant is it for Charlotte to join the league a handful of years ago and now here be hosting the All-Star game in 2026?
Again, it's just putting Charlotte in MLS spotlight. We've seen those international games, but again, having, you know, a lot of media coverage, a lot of fans traveling from different cities, and you know, it's an exhibition game, but it's also a good rivalry between MLS and Liga MX. So it's not just going to be a friendly, it's not going to be a walk in the park or just like a scrimmage. We're going to see players competing. We had a little bit of that in the skills challenge last night, but 11v11 is a different, you know, level of competition. And again, I just love the Liga MX MLS rivalry, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward tonight.
So players on these rosters get voted in a few different ways, either through the media, coaches and players voting, or then the head coach of the All-Star team gets to make selections as well. And then there's 2 players that are selected by MLS Commissioner Don Garber. So we first found out in the starting 11, aka the ones who were voted in, Tim Ream, coming off of being the captain of the U.S. men's national team. Tim Ream, who's been an All-Star in the past, and you know, he is one of the more popular faces in this sport, in this country. What do you make of his selection?
I think it's just his personality. Another reward of a great career that the team has had. The last World Cup, being the captain again, doing like a vice captain with Ashley here in Charlotte FC, is just his command, his, you know, the way he puts a group together. And he won the passing skills challenge last night, so it's not just your regular center back is going to be defending. He has that amazing touch to the ball. He builds from the back, so it's one of those USA, you know, born players that it's just great to have him here for Charlotte FC, and a rewarding, you know, career moment for him being named an All-Star as well.
Of course, we're rooting for all 3 Charlotte FC All-Stars, but I think a Pep Biel goal tonight would go a long way.
He's my guy.
Listen,
so,
we know he's a star. The franchise knows he's a star. They've rewarded him. They've bumped his status. Why isn't he a star? Like, why doesn't he get that star treatment nationally yet?
Well, you have legends of the sport here as well, like Thomas Müller, like Heung-Min Son, you know, Messi and Rodrigo de Paul not coming because they have a well-deserved vacation after the World Cup final, but you have a lot of MLS greats. Evander, Anders Dreyer. Fun fact about Pep Biel, Dreyer, and Evander, they were at some point voted in the ballot for the Danish League MVP race. So that's the amount of talent you're having from Europe to come play at MLS. But Pep Biel is just a great playmaker. He's one of the fan favorites. He's one of my favorites as well. He's just a magic left touch that he has. So he's a guy that, you know, he's going to be here for the DP, you know, roster registration for next year's, and he's going to be at that level of the MLS stars that we're going to see tonight.
I remember when they first announced that the All-Star game was going to be coming here, I sat down with Taylor Twellman and I asked him, who on this Charlotte FC roster do you think has the best chance of making it? And we both had agreed Pep would be that guy.
He shouldn't be voted last season.
I completely agree. This is what Pep had to say when he did find out that he would be selected, though, as an All-Star.
I'm very proud to be there for the club. When I arrived here, I say that I'm here to help the team to help Charlotte to growing up, to grow myself too. So together we achieved something like this, to put more Charlotte in the media. So I'm very proud for that.
Yeah, Pep's a very humble guy. We hear him talk all the time. But last year was a year that you mentioned he maybe could have been an All-Star, but an injury ended up kind of derailing part of his season. To have seen him kind of come back to be at the level where he is, what does that kind of say about the player he is as well, too?
Again, it's his quality and how he has adjusted to different leagues, because he has played in Spain, he played in Denmark, he played briefly in Germany, he played in Greece. So it's just adjusting to different styles of playing, and just the impact that he's had from the get-go when he signed for FC is the type of DPs that you want on Charlotte FC. It's how the MLS is, promoting this DP coming to play more in the MLS. And again, another player like Ashley Westwood, that he's so consistent every single game, captain for the Crown, but he just scored last weekend against Red Bull, but he is that kind of quarterback in the midfield for FC, just controlling the game, the tempo of the game. So those two guys complement each other so well in Charlotte FC midfield. Let's see if Dean is starting both and adding Team Ream of 3 starters from FC in this All-Star game.
We're going to talk about Westy. Danielle's got a great sit-down with Westy coming up, but while you're here, I want to take this opportunity to talk about the second leg of the season after the World Cup break, now after the All-Star break, and there's Leagues Cup mixed in against Liga MX. But this team won 2 straight heading into World Cup break, and now have worked the draw. Unfortunately, not a win against Atlanta United, and then with the big 2-0 win on the road at Red Bull New York. What do you think this team's outlook is for this second half?
Look, the Eastern Conference is a tough conference. You got to stay close to the Big Five in the upper part of the standings. Winning on the road is key. We saw last weekend against Red Bull, that was a huge win. And again, coming back to Bank of America, being the fortress, getting the more amount of points that you can get here at home. But again, if you get those road points, you're gonna get closer to the top 4, the top 5. We saw last year that it's not just about finishing top 5 in the conference, because that might give you, if you're top 4, that might give you a home field advantage for the playoffs. But in a best of 3 series in first round, sometimes it's kind of tricky. So it's when playoff time comes, it's a different tournament. It's a different season, but you gotta be smart. You gotta manage the load of these veteran players like Team coming off the World Cup, like Westy. Now we're gonna see Alan Saint-Maximin and what he brings. So I'm really excited to see the French winger, just to give that spark, that 1v1 talent that we're liking now that Zaha and Kerwin are leaving, right?
Right. This back half is going to be a monster. We're having a lot of midweek matches, though. I think it's 19 matches from the start of this second back half of the season till the end. So they're really going to be cramming it in. You mentioned Maxi coming. You mentioned the departure we just learned of Kerwin Vargas. I mean, this team will be looking a little bit different, but one of those consistents, like you said, is Ashley Westwood. He's been here since year 2 of the club, and he is so consistent. You even mentioned a really cool stat about him in scoring,
really fun,
which I'd love to hear that a little bit more too.
Yeah, we were joking with Dean in his press conference at the All-Star game press conference. He's unbeaten when Westy scores. So it's 7 wins, no losses. So you just try to put Westy closer to the box every time you can. So that was a fun stat that Dean didn't know. So that's credit to Westy's career as well. He didn't play too close to the box in the past, but he's that type of player that when he scores, and he has that type of impact every single night. And again, a very well-deserved All-Star selection for him.
Yeah, Westy even mentioned he hoped that Dino would play Ream, and Pep just a little bit tonight. Play all the just Chicago guys 90 minutes, so they're tired for Saturday's match. Real quick, you mentioned Maxi. What will he bring, do you think, right away? What will be Zaha-like? What will be Zaha light, and what will be totally different?
I think they play the same position, but they have slightly different skill sets.
Okay.
I think Maxi is more of an assister. He's a great dribbler. He creates chances. Zaha did create chances, but he liked to score. He liked to be, involved in the scoreboard. He has a Saha, I think, has a better finish, but you know, Maxi is dribbling, the 1v1, the spaces that he's going to create for so many other players. We got to see, you know, Abada and Aloko contributing on the other side of the wing, but Maxi definitely, his speed, his talent, he's very unique. He just played with Lens in the French League Division 1. They won the French Cup. Lens is going to be playing Champions League, so Maxi he's in rhythm, so he's going to be ready to play.
Yeah, Dean knew him from his Newcastle days a little bit too, and Westy had some familiarity with him. Tim Ream, another guy who also, of course, has Premier League background as well. This is a pretty good Charlotte FC team, but going back to Westy for a quick moment, I mean, he has been that spark that Dean has even said, you can't get him off the field. No. Like, he'll be running and giving 100% effort, even on those nights when maybe the more casual soccer fan doesn't see anything obvious, because he is that engine sort of in the middle. So I sat down with Westy coming into this week. He's a first-time All-Star. All-Stars are not super common for the Europeans to really understand, but you know he's all about fun and definitely a lot of competition as well too. So let's take a look at that now. So going from captain Ashley Westwood to now All-Star Ashley Westwood, how does that just sound to you to get this going?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's different for an Englishman. We don't do it in England, but no, I know how much it means to America and the sport in America. So no, to be chosen for it is outstanding, and especially here as well. So it's even more special. When
you had a conversation with Dean, or you found out that he was selecting you and Pep to be part of the squad, what did he say about maybe his reason for why he wanted you to be part of the representation of the All-Star group?
He didn't really tell us. It was more of, he let us find out through the league and through that way, which was nice. We got the email, so he dropped little hints, but no, it was nice to find out the way that everyone else would have found out through the email. You get the email from the MLS, so when that comes in, it's a nice feeling. It's a real nice feeling.
You mentioned that, you know, in England and in other places around the world, this isn't really a thing necessarily, but what do you think it just means here in America to have an All-Star game and like what it kind of embodies?
I think it's great for the fans, especially the fans here who love soccer, and they're going to get to see 3 of their own players, which is nice. But I mean, to get the best players in the league and coming off the back of a World Cup, it's huge for soccer. And listen, we want to win the game against Liga MX, so it's going to be a competitive game as well.
But it's fun. Like, at the end of the day, it's a fun thing. It's kind of an entertaining factor for fans to get behind. How easy, I guess, is it for you to kind of lead into the fun aspect of getting to play soccer?
Well, you've seen me play it, so it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to have that competitiveness, but no, hopefully it's like an exhibition, one where you can go and have fun, and hopefully you'll see some tricks, and the lads will put on a show. It's great for the younger fans who don't know what soccer's about. They get to come and see the best players in the league, and we're going to put on a show.
Who on this roster are you most looking forward to playing alongside for the first time?
Thomas Müller. He looks just good fun.
Yeah.
He's a legend in football. He's won World Cups, and he's been at the top. So I think I'm most looking forward to him. Yeah.
Having Dean and then the 3 players, you, Tim, and Pep, all representing, and just coming to Charlotte for the first time, obviously it's just a younger club, but to have the All-Star game here, what does that say about kind of the growth of Charlotte FC and where Charlotte is on the map in terms of MLS right now?
It's massive. I mean, when I got here, when I didn't know where Charlotte was. So people are starting to recognise Charlotte for what it is. It's a soccer city, it's a sports city. And to get a big game like that from the MLS is huge. So it just shows how far we're coming. And wherever you look around the city, there's Charlotte FC top. So that's my biggest sense of pride. We're affecting now the younger generation who are going to carry the support through.
Always so good to talk to Westy. He's like we said, been that mainstay. He loves this city. We see him out doing a lot of community events too, between golf tournaments, which we know he's very passionate about golf as well, but just giving back in a lot of different ways. So to have him representing today, really cool for him too.
I mean, he's so Charlotte, he makes hole-in-ones at Quail Hollow Country Club. That's where he is, from not knowing where Charlotte even was. But I will say this about Westy. Obviously, you know, charming guy, great worker on the field. he came in here year 2 of the franchise. This franchise needed somebody like him with his pedigree, his background in Premier League to come here and not only play well, but stay here, make this home, and talk up Charlotte as much as possible as a soccer city. He's continued to do it, and he gets rewarded tonight with the All-Star bid.
The combination of him and Dean Smith together really become that marketing that the team only needs, getting guys from the Premier League, with Wesley having played at Burnley, and of course Dean Smith's own experience throughout the Premier League as well too. They can get guys that they know could be here. And Wesley, I've talked to him as he's been kind of recruiting players. I think back to when Harry Toffolo just started last season. He was bringing them all to the local bars and the pubs to show, hey, this is the city and this is where you and your family will be living. So great representation, bit of a tour guide as well on that front too. But thanks to him, also thanks to Tonio Ramos for chatting with us just before this. Wealth of knowledge as always, and listen to his calls on the radio. Always really fun. But we're going to take a quick pause, and we'll be right back after this. All right, any question about Charlotte being a soccer city, just take a look at what Uptown is looking like right now and pretty much throughout this entire weekend. You are seeing so many people starting to file their way into Bank of America Stadium for what should be a very fun night here for the MLS All-Star match. We're seeing kits from all across MLS representing different clubs, different nationalities, national teams, and just different players. It is so fun just seeing this. Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein joining you once again. And Nick, we didn't get the World Cup here this summer. Unfortunately, we got
we would have crushed it, by the way.
We got a taste of it, though, with the friendly just before the U.S. team went off for the World Cup. They hosted Senegal here, and it really feels like this is a city that is rallying behind soccer, international soccer, and just getting that look of this past weekend with the Fan Fest activities as well kind of showed us that as well, too.
Yeah, this is just another in a line of just stellar competitions that this stadium and this backdrop has hosted in soccer. Really started ramping up about 10 years ago. I mean, I remember being up here for the Copa semifinal, 75,000 people, many in orange for Colombia. It looks like the lower bowl tonight will be packed out. We may watch from up here. It's a great view. But, you know, you're talking about 40, 45, maybe 50,000 people for an MLS All-Star game. I think that'll be up there in terms of the game's history January. So no doubt Charlotte is a soccer city. Like, we don't have to have that debate anymore because, you know, Tim Ream has said so. Megan Rapinoe has said so. I'm just racking my brain for the names over the years. Christian Pulisic said so after that Senegal match.
So impressed,
like, there's no doubt about it now. And we'll continue to get more events. You know, maybe not another MLS All-Star game for a while, but more U.S. men's and women's national team games. Perhaps the Women's World Cup, which would be fantastic. So it just fits right in that long, illustrious list of competitions they've hosted here now.
Yeah, there have been so many fun events here, and it really does feel like we said, these fans are really rallying behind it. We saw events all throughout the weekend, a lot of different activations, some games, just a good way to get engaged before the All-Star weekend was really here. Some of the big names of Apple TV, like Kaylin Kyle was there, former U.S. men's national team legends, Clint Dempsey was there, Landon Donovan was there, fans getting to interact with them, engage with them. So it was really fun, and we got to hear from a couple of the fans who were out there over the weekend.
Hey, this is great. Something that's like free and that allows people to come out and join and learn about the game is amazing, you know, especially at times like this. To have something, you know, affordable that people are able to enjoy is a good thing. So
Charlotte's a soccer city, you know, Charlotte FC have come and, you know, the city's buzzing with soccer, the World Cup. Now we got the All-Star game, Charlotte FC, let's go.
See, I told you a lot of people have called this a soccer city. I forgot that guy did too. So it's well known at this point. And just looking out into the crowd and what we saw even yesterday, jerseys of all of the MLS All-Stars, especially Son, who we'll talk about soon. Charlotte FC kits everywhere. Messi kits, unfortunately no Messi this week, but a lot of big names. And we saw those big names. You know, last night I didn't know what to expect in that skills challenge, which was just down the street at Truist Field, the home of the Charlotte Knights. So we had soccer on a baseball field, but it was a fun show, and Charlotte FC showed out, man. Tim Ream.
Yeah, Tim, I talked with him, and he was like, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in this, but of course he delivered in the moment, like we knew he would. He said, if there's a passing challenge, that's where I'm going to shine, and he was not mincing his words at all when he said that. There were quite a few events in the night, passing challenge, shooting challenge, crossbar challenge, which we saw Ocho Cinco taking part in as well. A couple other celebrity guests were part of the event as well, too. So it was a lot of fun. There was quite a bit of rain, though, for a minute.
Yeah, we got washed out for a little bit, a little delayed. That shooting challenge was phenomenal. Thomas Muller broke the record with a 79, score of 79, and then Evander, last year's champion, tied that record with a sensational 79 as well. So, I mean, it is a skills challenge, but you really saw the skill. Tim Ream's passing skill and kind of that long-range target. I mean, he was hitting buckets from distance in that.
Something Tim said after when we spoke with him that made me laugh. He was asked, what was the hardest part of the skills challenge? He said, waiting around. Some of us old guys thinking about him, Westy, Muller, for example, were like, we just want to get this show going. We want to keep on competing. But Tim, he absolutely torched the passing challenge like he said he did. He was going to, and he was also really excited to get to share that moment with his family because all the families of the players got to be out on the field. This is what Tim had to say after his big win at the skills challenge.
I took part in one other All-Star game, and they were, not even on this earth yet. So, for them to be able to actually experience that and remember that, it's part of the reason why I'm still doing what I'm doing, to give them the experiences that we have as players, and just so they can be and feel connected to the game and to have a little fun while we do it.
We were at training on Monday, and we talked to all the Charlotte FC players involved, BL, Westy, and, of course, Tim. And Tim's coming off a World Cup that was highly physical and emotional. I don't want to say a deep run because we know it could have gone deeper, but, getting to the quarterfinals, it was a very taxing time. He comes back, he plays against Atlanta United, gets the one game off at Red Bull New York. But, I mean, this is a guy who's played a lot of soccer, and now you're asking him to play in an All-Star exhibition, which isn't something you do in European leagues where he's played before. You're asking him to take part in the skills challenge. But, he really said that he and his wife and his family, as you mentioned, they're trying to take it all in, trying to not really say no to anything right now, because this could all be the last time around for him for everything here in his late 30s. I thought that was a great perspective, and he said, there's no rest for the weary is me, and that's just okay. And I know we're going to hear your great sit down with Tim later.
Yeah, something I talked about with Tim when I got the chance to sit down with him was one of the events that he got to do between the World Cup and returning to Charlotte FC was go to the ESPYs for his first time. And he said that he has never been around so many star athletes in his life, and he honestly felt overwhelmed. But Tim,
he's the guy who played in the Premier League.
And don't forget, you're just coming off of being the captain of the U.S. men's national team at the World Cup. But he's an awesome guy. So many stars we were talking about. We saw some of the stars also at the Skills Challenge. Goalie Wars, one of the fine ones that
I know it's coming up, so I can't wait. We got to get to this.
So just a little painting the pictures. So the media members got the chance to participate in Goalie Wars. This is the first time they were bringing it back from the MLS level in a while. It's been at the MLS Next Pro level for the past couple of seasons. MLS players got to play it, including U.S. men's national team goalkeeper Matt Freese was able to be out there last night as well too. But I was one who got to be put to the test. I'm super competitive. I tried my best.
Oh, really?
You'll roll the tape and you'll find out. We're in good hands here. You like that?
Pun intended.
You like that, Kev?
I guess my first question, has anyone done anything like this ever? No. Okay, well that's a good start.
All right, Tony, you're here in Charlotte because, of course, we have the All-Star game coming here, so we're getting a little prep underway. We have Goalie Wars for the media today. It's so fun. It's a good time to just, get out and show our skills. What is the key to success in a game like this?
Yeah, this is something, it's not to play anyone that's done it before, right? People who haven't done it before, I think you realize how hard it is. You're only going for a minute. And, of course, making saves. This is what goalkeepers are doing every single day in training. I'm so excited that it's finally coming back to the skills competition. I've been screaming about this for a long time because we did it, maybe the first 5 years of Major League Soccer. I know I did it 3 or 4 times. Fans love it. It's really, really exciting. It's fast-paced. And again, I'm happy they brought it back.
Yeah, when you say the fans love it, sometimes goalkeeper isn't necessarily the most glorious role because you let a goal in and then everyone's kind of against you. But there's a lot that goes into it. What are the keys to being a successful goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think the one thing, to get to this level, you clearly have the skill, right? Someone has recognized that you can do this. And I think the hardest part is the mental part of the game, right? And, of course, everyone's going to look first at the mistakes, right? Because that's just the island that you live on as a goalkeeper. It's something you just got to forget about it, right? It's the hardest thing to do. But I think the mental part is difficult. All of these guys, super talented physically. They are all explosive goalkeepers. We're seeing them all around the league. But I think that's what separates probably the top guys from the rest.
How you feel after that first round?
Feeling good, feeling a little confident. They said I'm going to be moving on, so we will see how I do against some of the other competition of the day. But I'm tired. I'm sweating. And the All-Star game is coming here to Charlotte for the first time. It's still a younger club in MLS, but what are your just initial impressions of Charlotte as a soccer city and how they're sort of being embraced by the rest of MLS right now?
Well, I started covering games here in their inaugural season, and I was just telling some folks here, I covered Chicago Fire, and I think it was their second year here, and they scored 5 on the Fire, and this place was absolutely lit up. Their fans have been incredible from day one. Now they've got a manager that it really seems to embrace the city and want to be in this part of the world, and is bringing in great players. You got 3 players now, Ashley Westwood, Pep Biel, and Tim Ream on the All-Star team. You got your manager that's going to coach the teams. Just a lot of really good things. Just had a really good experience at the World Cup with Scotland being down here. There's a reason for all of that, right? It's not because people don't think that this is a soccer city. They absolutely do, and it just continues to grow.
All right, I have to humble brag. I finished in the finals, so second place out of the 10 who were out there competing. So I'm proud of myself after that.
You should be.
one.
We
Thank
definitely
you.
sent the right representative. I was only jealous that you got to meet Tony Miola.
Yep.
That was my guy back in '94. He had the hair, the ponytail, looking good back there. But yeah, great job.
Thank
Way
you.
to represent.
Thank you.
And next year, you'll get the crown. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you and I had actually trained the year
We've
prior
trained with Kalina, of
Christian
course,
Kalina.
yes.
So
I think
I had
Kalina
a
learned
little-
a lot from us, but
He told me I was a professional that day.
he did not
though,
tell me
so
that.
I
Yeah,
will
he
say-
told me
I
other
took that
things.
and ran.
Yeah,
but
that I don't
yeah.
want to talk about my goalkeeping.
You said your knees were hurting for a while after that
no.
one, right?
I'm older than Ream. I'm older than Westy. I'm older than all of them. So, great job.
Man. So as you can hear, there's some cheering going on behind us right now because both the the MLS All-Stars and the Liga MX All-Stars have now taken the pitch for warm-up. So we're
Yeah,
starting
get a shot
to
of
get a
that,
little
Ben.
bit going. Yeah, we can
We're
see
not
our
formal.
photographer Ben. I'm going to take a step to the side right now. As you can see in these yellow warm-up kits, the Liga MX All-Stars are getting to warm up, and over on the far side of the field in those white warm-up kits, you can see the MLS All-Stars getting ready for some action tonight. It is a star-studded affair. It is the best of the MLS, the cream of the crop, and that includes some new faces for the first time in this league. Very notably, Son Heung-Min. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere you look, you're seeing Son
kids,
everywhere.
adults, all ages have a Sonny jersey. And, you know, you're a hardcore soccer fan. I'm a little more casual, but that's a name I know. Thomas Muller is here, a name I know. Evander, the Cincinnati legend from Brazil. It's surreal to see them training at the Charlotte FC training grounds. And, you know, there was a lot of fun between, I would say, especially Westy and Muller. Westy said he looks like a guy that I could go have a beer with.
Which I'm sure they have.
Perhaps they have or will after tonight. And, you know, Sonny and
Tim have a nice
Tim have a good
too.
relationship. They had some laughs out there as well. So it was really cool to see. It felt like, and I think one of the players said it felt like the first day of school. They know each other. They've played against each other in this league and other leagues. But even the athletic trainer who was putting them through the paces in training was like, get to know one another, feel it out, you know, feel out how you're going to play together. So it'll be interesting to see how they play together tonight. But I'll tell you what, these guys, it's only going to be a few days before they go from, you know, frenemies to enemies again, including Sonny and Muller, who play against each other this weekend, but two giant stars of the sport. Muller from Bayern Munich for so many years, and Sonny with Tottenham Hotspur. This is what they had to say about being here and playing with each other, not against each other.
I mean, I never had this experience, you know, so I would call this is a little bit crazy, but it's a great experience, you know, every player is, you know, like I'm always very happy to play every single player. Like we say Thomas, for example, he's been Bayern Munich. His career was amazing. I think everybody will be dreaming playing with him, you know. So I'm that kind of a guy as well, you know. When I look Thomas, feels like a kids and playing with him together would be like a dream. So, you know, like this is only one day it's happened, so I should enjoy this moment. Not only Thomas, you know, every single players, you know, so they deserve to be here. So, and sometimes having this weird feeling to playing against those kind of players. I'll play Thomas next weekend, but I'm playing on the Wednesday together with him. It's in the same team, so it's kind of weird, but I try to enjoy this moment. But it's a huge honor.
Sonny, you have a lot of...
We always try to say nice things in front of camera, but you know, on Saturday he comes with LAFC to Vancouver. I don't know, maybe he's faking. He's faking to be nice to me. So we are really watching us. No, but his German language is really, really good, and for sure he knows a little bit about life in Germany. We talk about the good old times, and also as a type of players, we have a good understanding for each other. So I know what he means, and but I try to get some information out of him for Saturday.
Speaking of language.
All right, we'll see how that relationship fares after today, but teammates for tonight back to rivals Saturday. And two, as we talked about, massive names that have come to the MLS recently and just keep that flow of top European players and other players from around the world coming to this league to build this league stronger.
Yes, Sonny coming to MLS was just probably next on the pecking order after Lionel Messi did in terms of superstar power coming to this league. One of the kind of underrated parts of this week that I've really loved is the social media content that we've been seeing out of the team. We even saw Charlotte FC Social trying to ask the guys, do you know what this mascot is about Sir Minty? And I believe it was Sonny who said, I don't, but he's very cute, and things like that. They're really leading into it. Another part, apparently, Ocho Cinco and Sonny are saying that they're related. And they played a little.
I'm going to need to see the family tree.
There is a little bit of Ancestry.com that was posted, and they say they are fifth cousins removed. So
it's that Ocho Cinco family that goes back centuries.
So
that wasn't made up by Chad Johnson years ago.
But
Perhaps.
they clearly have the athletic genes somewhere along that family line, though, as well, too, right?
Absolutely. I ran into Ocho the other day. He was going to Panthers practice, and he said, first of all, he wants to play in the game tonight. That would be amazing. He was petitioning MLS Commissioner Don Garber to make that happen. And he also said, I'm a soccer player. Right. I mean, sure, you're like one of the top professional football players of your generation, but fancies himself a soccer player and fan now. He did okay in the crossbar challenge. I think he was against Evander. Probably a tough draw there.
Yeah, he had posted a video, though, before, and he was going, clinically, he was hitting the crossbar.
Yeah.
So I thought he had a pretty good chance of doing well. Didn't pan out for him, but as we are getting ready to get underway with this All-Star match tonight, a lot of first-timers, also a first time for the manager. Because Charlotte FC is hosting, that means Dean Smith is getting the call up to be the manager of this All-Star squad. He got to make those selections. He got to pick 16 players to be part of this group. He did pick Ashley Westwood. He did pick Pep Biel. But again, he's a British man. He doesn't really know much about all-star traditions, things about that nature, and this is all new and kind of fun for him. And he said, these are the best players in the world, so I don't really need to do much tactically. It's more just about figuring out lineups, combinations, minutes, things like that. But it'll be really cool to see him out there leading this group too.
I mean, Dean Smith, kind of a competitive guy.
Yeah.
This is an all-star event. So we're going to see, it's probably going to start out really friendly, but again, it is against Liga MX, which there has been a building rivalry. The Leagues Cup now going into, I think it's 4th or 5th year. That starts next week. Right. The only tournament worldwide between two leagues directly. So there could be some spillover from prior matchups. Perhaps looking ahead to next week. And when it gets tight, Dean Smith's going to coach. These players are going to play to win.
Yeah, this is what Dean Smith had to say earlier this week as well.
There's not going to be loads of tactical training for the players. The best of the best, which is what they are when you're chosen for the All-Star team, are very tactically astute. We'll put them into a system, a shape, but there will be some freedom within that. The hardest part for me is the math of it, working out what minutes and what balance is probably going to be best for us. I want to make it as enjoyable as possible for the players. Getting called up for the All-Star team is a great achievement for them. There's going to be a friendly element to it, but they're competitive players. They're all top players at their clubs. They all want to win. So there'll be a friendly side to it, but I think when you put competitive players against each other, they always want to win, and I'm no different as a coach as well.
Yeah, we've seen Dean on the sidelines before. Like I said, maybe there will be smiles, but, that face might get red towards the end. And, God bless the officials rolling the sideline with Dino there. But it'll be fun. And listen, we've got a lot coming up. We have talked to so many people involved in MLS from Apple TV as well. I did speak to Jake Zivin, who is on the call for tonight's Major League Soccer All-Star game for Apple TV. We're going to hear from him. You and I got a chance to catch up with Dax McCarty, longtime MLS midfielder. He was a delight. He's an Apple TV analyst now, and we talked about this game. We talked about Charlotte FC's All-Stars, Charlotte FC's season, Maxi coming aboard. So great conversations coming your way that you could only get here on the WCNC Charlotte app coming up, and another big one, Danielle.
Dax is also notably a former teammate of Tim Ream's. At the beginning of Tim's career, before he went over to play with Fulham, he started with New York Red Bulls. So I also got to sit down with Tim, just coming off of the heels of that World Cup run, as well as he's an all-star once again. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get to all those when we come back. Since Tim Ream joined Charlotte FC after playing for a long time with Fulham, he's brought a lot of leadership to this locker room. I've had a couple of conversations with him at this point, and he is always someone who's really gracious with his time and also really thoughtful with his answers. We had a very full conversation. It went about 20 minutes. That's all over on the WCNC Charlotte app as well, too, that you can check out. But here's a part of our conversation about being an all-star representing Charlotte FC. How easy is that for you to go out and have maybe like fun and not as serious of soccer with the All-Star game, the skills challenge you're going to be part of? Like, is that a refreshing thing for you to get to do as well?
I'm still trying to figure out how I got in the team, to be honest with you. There's so many guys who are deserving to be here, but it's unique, right? It's unique in American sports to have an All-Star game, and obviously we're taking a little bit of a page out of the other sports books and having a skills competition. I think those two things are very different. The skills competition is a little bit of fun, right? It's a little bit of competition, but you can also have a little bit of a laugh with it and a little bit of family time and enjoyment and kind of getting everybody together. I'll maintain for a long time that the way that this sport is, it's hard to have an all-star game where you can just have fun and just kind of stroll around and kind of laugh and do your thing, right? It's not like that. The sport doesn't really allow it because it's just too big. The skills competition will be fun, and the actual game will, I think you'll see it will be very competitive, as anything to do with Mexico versus US always is.
Going to be playing alongside some guys between Ashley and Pep, as well as Sebastian, coming off of being part of that World Cup team as well. Is there anyone on this All-Star roster that you're looking forward to playing with for the first time?
Obviously, everybody's all here for a reason, right? They're all here because they deserve to be here, and they all bring different skill sets. I've known Sonny for a long time playing against him over in England and in preseason. Great guy. It'll be good to play with him. Part of an All-Star game is unique. It is special, and it's a celebration first and foremost of the guys who are here. But just to be able to play with everybody and meet new people in this game is always a special thing.
You've watched this league progress up close and from afar, starting your career here, then going overseas and coming back. Having these All-Star games and just watching where MLS is growing, and maybe you can even note, based on what you talked about with some of your World Cup teammates about their observations on MLS, where do you think the league is right now in terms of its growth and its notoriety?
I mean, I think it's at an all-time high, obviously, but in saying that, it's still going, right? It's still growing. I was up at the league office last week and was having a conversation, and everybody, and I'm guilty of it as well in my own performances, that everybody is looking at, well, what's next, and we fail to see what we're in at the minute. But it's constantly, a topic of conversation. It was a topic of conversation when I was over in England for all those years. Guys paying attention to it, guys, realizing and understanding that the level is continuing to improve. It's continuing to go up. The coaching is continuing to improve. The development of players is continuing to improve. So we're the league and teams are in a really good place. But there's still room to grow, which is the most amazing part, is that we're not talking about a finished product, and I don't think we ever will be, and I think that's key, because you're always going to be wanting to push that boat out a little bit further.
Here with Jake Zivin from Apple TV. He's got the call for the 2026 MLS All-Star Game here in Charlotte. Jake, you've experienced Charlotte soccer before, done some FC games. Just your thoughts on Charlotte being the host city for the first time.
It's obviously a great soccer market, and we saw that from the moment Charlotte FC entered MLS. I mean, the energy in Bank of America Stadium, particularly when it's full for a big game, is almost as good as it gets in Major League Soccer. I hope we see the Poznan, the Pepes, tomorrow night for the All-Star Game as well, right? It's one of the coolest traditions in MLS and a great atmosphere at Bank of America.
Listen, you play it, they will jump around in there and make some noise. Dean Smith, as the manager, we'll start with him. Just thoughts, he just hit his 100th career match coach with Charlotte FC. I believe 43 victories now. Playoffs, hunting for another spot. Thoughts on his tenure so far and what the back stretch of the season may hold?
I think it's been really successful, right? I mean, you said it, playoffs both years, 5th in the East, 4th in the East. He said today at his press conference before the All-Star Game, they want to continue to improve, right? They're looking top 3 this year. It's hard to do that. It's hard to be consistent in Major League Soccer across several years. And Dean Smith has done an incredible job of making Charlotte FC a legitimate contender in the Eastern Conference. Really good at home, of course. And, he's done it, I think, with a roster that maybe isn't as heralded as some others. You know what I mean? And you got guys like Ashley Westwood, a deserved All-Star that maybe isn't as appreciated around the country as he is here in Charlotte. Dean Smith is a really good manager. He's done a great job in Charlotte, and they're off to a great start after the World Cup break. So I think they're trying to kick on and go for that top 3.
And 1-2 straight coming in. Let's talk about the players. Ashley Westwood, he has been a mainstay here. He is ever popular in Charlotte. For him to have this experience, having the career experience he had in England, what do you think? What's the sense you get that this means to him? Maybe?
The All-Star Game is usually people who make All-Star games are the guys who score a bunch of goals, have a bunch of assists, and then you got to fill some defenders in and a goalkeeper. But what Ashley Westwood does, controlling the game, a true midfielder, right? Not a big goal contributor. Those guys often are overlooked for an All-Star game. So I'm really happy for him that he is in it, because every team needs guys like that. You saw Spain win the World Cup, led by players like Ashley Westwood. Now, obviously at an incredible level, but guys who just run the game and do everything well. And that's what Ashley Westwood has done for Charlotte. So yeah, what an accomplishment for him. I think he's going to enjoy this. Probably never thought when he was playing for 10 years in the Premier League that he'd ever play in an All-Star game. He probably didn't know what that was, but here he'll be, and a really deserved selection for him.
This club has had several names that were kind of expected goal scorers over its first handful of years. Toklamati right now, Adjamang until last year, Swiderski while he was here, Enzo Capetti, the list goes on. But Pep Biel may be their best goal contributor of all time.
Yeah.
His spot in this game well earned. Your thoughts on Pep?
Great player, right? Look, when he got hurt at the end of the year, Charlotte was a different team, and they didn't have, without Pep, when he's not on the field, you see it, right? They don't have that same attacking punch as when he's there. He's a traditional kind of number 10. He's a playmaker. He can score goals. He can set up goals. He can give you that special moment, which in this league particularly, you need guys like that. Again, a totally deserved All-Star, and you said it. Even look, a Wilfried Zaha, right? He's not here anymore, but Pep Biel to me was their most important attacking player, and has been, and will continue to be for Charlotte. Really talented player, and I think an All-Star game will suit him, right? Like he's got some skill, he's got some sauce, and I think he'll bring it out in this All-Star game.
All right, Tim Ream in his late 30s, but I'd love to be running around playing as much as he's been playing lately. He said after the World Cup, he's been busier than ever. This spotlight for him, I think 15 years after his first All-Star appearance, and just what he meant to the United States team and what he still means to Charlotte.
He is an incredible player, right? To captain a World Cup team 4 years after a World Cup that nobody even thought he'd be on. I mean, right at 35, 6 months before Qatar, nobody thought that Tim Ream would be on that team. And then when he played in Qatar, after that World Cup, the question was, okay, who's going to take that spot for the next one? Because Tim Ream's going to be too old. He won't be there. And no, Tim Ream is there. He's captaining the team. An incredible accomplishment for an incredible player after an incredible career. This is, again, deserved. And it's just not like an honorary thing. He is one of the best defenders in Major League Soccer still at this point. He's a big reason why Charlotte has been one of the better defensive teams in MLS. Same as Christian Kalina, who I think maybe in other years would have been here, but because of the World Cup, Matt Freese, Maxime Crépeau, they were World Cup goalkeepers. They get those spots. But Tim Ream's a great defender, and again, so important for Charlotte.
All right, a star, but not an MLS All-Star yet. Maxi hopefully gets here soon, works through the visa process. What can he bring to this team after they lose Zaha?
Yeah, look, no Zaha, Karen Vargas also, it sounds like. So there is a need for that attacking punch on the wing, right? Liel Abada hasn't quite lived. He did score a goal, but he hasn't recently, right? Scored a goal, but he hasn't lived up to, I think, what the expectations of him were when he came to Charlotte. So they need Maxi to be that guy, and to be, look, if he can be a real threat and a real dangerous player on the wing, and then you've got Pep Biel pulling the strings, and you've got Idan Toklamati scoring goals, all of a sudden, that's an attacking trio that is up there with any team in the league. And this is a league where you need your top-end players to deliver to succeed. So I think there's going to be pressure on him to come into Charlotte and be that guy. And obviously, you're making the choice to not re-sign Wilfried Zaha when his loan ends, to not keep him here. That's because they think that Maxi's going to be better, right? And there's pressure for him to be better.
Right. Jake Ziven, thank you for joining us. Best of luck on the call. Always love to have you here in Charlotte.
Thanks. Anytime. Can't wait for the game.
Yeah.
Charlotte's bringing a little bit of the rain, but it's bringing a lot of fun here with All-Star Week. MLS for the first time out of its 30 years of having All-Star Week, first time here in Charlotte. I know you have your time in North Carolina from your playing days, so you're a little familiar with the area. What do you think just this whole atmosphere has been like of having MLS first coming to Charlotte and also just having the All-Star Week being here this year?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love All-Star Weekend. I was lucky enough to participate in 2 All-Star games as a player, and now this is my second one as an analyst and working in the media realm. I absolutely love the buzz that it creates around each city that we go to. Last year we were in Austin, and now we're in Charlotte. I've got a special place in my heart for North Carolina. I went to UNC, and so I think the people here are amazing. I always tell people this: if I didn't move back to Florida and live in Florida, I would have lived in North Carolina. I just think it's a sports city. Charlotte, they absolutely love their team. They support their teams, and I just think everybody wants to have fun, have a good time, and they want to see good soccer, and that's exactly what they're going to see this week.
The training session yesterday was such a fun look at the dynamic of an event like this because you had like Westy palling around with Muller, Ream we saw with Son a little bit. Like, what's the atmosphere like when you get around each other as top players in the league?
The atmosphere is amazing because you have the ultimate respect for every single player that's involved in the game and involved on your team. I still remember some of my All-Star games, seeing guys like David Villa and guys like Kyle Beckerman, where me and Kyle Beckerman did battle on the field as defensive midfielders, going up against each other, fouling each other. And then David Villa, I was trying to stop him when I was at Red Bull and he was at NYCFC, and it was like, wait, now we're teammates. Now we can be cool. We can leave the rivalries to the side, and you can actually just enjoy each other's quality on the field, and you can just enjoy the good vibes. It's a very relaxed, low-key, fun weekend. But you also want to win.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about it, is that it's still competitive. I, unfortunately, was never able to participate in a skills challenge, which I think I would have loved. But you just feel the vibes and the energy around the stadium. It's unbelievable. It's unmatched. You can't find it anywhere else.
Well, quick follow to that. Which of the skills events do you think you would have really liked to be part of?
So I was a central midfielder. I didn't score many goals in my career. I definitely would have participated in the passing challenge. I think I would have done well in the passing challenge. That was kind of my thing. Although when the lights turn on and the lights are bright and everyone's watching you and you've got to hit little targets, sometimes that's way harder than just being in a game and being able to play on instinct, right? Because you're almost overthinking it. So I like to think I would have been able to do well in the passing challenge, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get back out there. Maybe I'll get some boots on and let me try to do it.
That's awesome. I mean, I talked to Tim Ream earlier this week. We sat down and he said he felt pretty confident about the passing challenge, and obviously that panned out pretty well for him. But something that you said I want to go back to also is that, you know, it's a lot of fun for these guys, but they're all competitors at the end of the day. How easy is it for you to kind of allow yourself to have fun in these moments while also knowing, hey, it's a big deal. We're going up against the Liga MX All-Stars.
I think it's the most fun during the pregame events and the pregame festivities. They are always so social, so bubbly, so fun. And sometimes as a player, you don't really love doing all that stuff, but there's not a ton of pressure around anything. And then once the game rolls around, you kind of snap back into game mode. And so that's the thing with Liga MX rivalry, is that it's growing organically. There's a real, I think, fire about it right now, because I think Liga MX for a very long time were the top dogs in CONCACAF. And I think MLS has done a really good job of closing that gap. Obviously, the Seattle Sounders winning CONCACAF Champions Cup a few years ago was a really big step, but just consistently competing with the best teams in Mexico as Major League Soccer teams, competing with them in All-Star games, being able to win them, that's something that's really important for the growth, I think, of just not just the rivalry between Liga MX and MLS, but also soccer in North America.
In terms of the growth of Charlotte FC, this is kind of the next step, hosting the All-Star game, having players play in it for the first ever time. Pat Adjumong didn't get a chance to do that, and now they've got 3. What can a week like this do for this club?
Yeah, I mean, it can put them at an elevated level where their players probably become, instead of niche stars in the Charlotte market, you kind of expose yourself to more markets around the U.S. Tim Ream, I mean, he needs no introduction. He's a very good player, a great captain, a guy that I played with, a former teammate of mine, and someone who represented the U.S. at the World Cup in impeccable fashion. And so, look, this is the type of moment where they get to showcase to not just all of Charlotte, but also to the rest of the league, to everyone who supports soccer in the U.S. and in Major League Soccer, that some of the best players in the league play right here in Charlotte, in people's hometown. And so, look, Charlotte has a great support. They have a great fan base that knows a lot of the players, but maybe some of these casual fans that maybe want to find something to do and support after the World Cup, they're going to come here and they're going to see these great players that Charlotte has, and I think they're going to be hooked right away.
Let's talk a little bit about Charlotte, because you are an analyst for the league, so I know you're pretty plugged into where they are. As we're getting back into the second half of the season, they're kind of in the middle of the table on the East right now. They have Maxi coming in very soon. That should be a good boost for them. A couple other changes. Where do you kind of see the trajectory for Charlotte in the back half of their season? Last year, they said top 4 was their goal. They said, maybe we don't get exactly like that this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Charlotte is a team that's got a really high floor, and I think the ceiling kind of depends on how good Alan St. Maximum is when he comes in, because you had a really talented mercurial player in Wilfred Zaha that could produce these moments of magic at almost any time. Well, St. Maximum can do the same thing, and he's a little bit younger, And he is a player who absolutely will be able to electrify a crowd. And so how quickly he settles in, I think will go a long way towards where Charlotte ends up in the table. They've got a really stable back line. I really like Dean Smith as a coach. Obviously, Ashley Westwood. I played as a central midfielder, so I have, I think, a greater appreciation for how important he is and how great of a player he is. And so I think Charlotte's firmly in the playoff race. I have no doubts that they will be a part of that top 9. How high they go, right now, other than Nashville and Inter Miami, I see the Eastern Conference as being wide open. And so you need to get Edon Toklamati on the same page with St. Maximum and Kerwin Vargas, Pep Biel really quickly, because that front 4 can be really, really dangerous.
Let's, we've talked about Westy and Ream, deservedly so. Charlotte FC in its handful of years has had all these expected goal scorers, Zaha, go back to Kopetis, Federski, but Pep Biel just seems to be this guy that has just had this artistry here that's appreciated here, and hopefully it's appreciated maybe further than here after tomorrow.
Yeah, Pep is one of my favorite players in the league, and I think the one thing you can say about Charlotte in their existence, it's been kind of inconsistent at times. The one consistent thing that they have had and the one constant has been Pep Biel being a star player. He's an absolute bona fide superstar in Major League Soccer. He has always produced, and you can tell when he was injured last year how much it affected Charlotte, how much it affected their attack, how unbalanced they were. He's a game changer, and you see it in Major League Soccer all over the league. Of course, Lionel Messi's right at the top of that list, but all the other playmakers that you see here, guys like Carlos Hill, guys like Hani Mukhtar, Pep Biel is in that conversation as one of the best playmakers in Major League Soccer. So I think Dean Smith has done a really good job building the attack around him, his strengths, making sure that he has players around him that can understand the types of passes he wants to make and the type of movements that he has. I can't say enough good things about him. He's a star.
8 goals already for him on the season as well, too. All of them are first-time All-Stars, Ashley and Pep specifically. Like, anyone else that you're really looking forward to seeing out on the pitch for the first time as an All-Star, maybe for their first time? Sonny?
I mean, it's always going to be the big names. I always want to see those guys. They're absolutely fantastic. Son Heung-Min and Thomas Muller they embody everything that you want in a superstar player. To come in here, they're so gracious with fans, they're gracious with their time, they're absolutely fantastic with the media. They hop on our show all the time, MLS Countdown, MLS 360, and they just give you a peek behind the curtain of how normal they are, right? They're very down to earth, even though they're these global superstars that have accomplished amazing things in the game, and they're humble enough to come and play in an MLS All-Star game that they probably have no clue why we do it or what it is.
Very American.
And yet they still embrace it. And that's what I love about players that come over to MLS that experience new things when they embrace the culture that is American sports. I have a high appreciation for players that do that. So I'm excited to see those guys tomorrow.
The final one for me, a very big picture about the league as we watch, the World Cup and players from all these different leagues, including MLS in it. Where has this league come? Where will it go? Where can it go?
I turned pro in 2006. When I first turned pro, there were 12 teams in Major League Soccer. There are 30 teams in Major League Soccer now. Almost every team in the league has a multi-million-dollar, state-of-the-art training facility. Almost every team in the league has a soccer-specific stadium that they sell out on a regular basis, unless it is a Charlotte or a Seattle or an Atlanta United, who obviously have dual-purpose stadiums. But I just think you see so much investment in the infrastructure of the league, which has gotten significantly better, and also in player development. That is something that I think is really important, that I know I'm really passionate about, that I know Major League Soccer is really passionate about. The fact that every team in Major League Soccer has academies where they're developing really good players that are contributing to not just the MLS clubs, but also to the U.S. men's national team. That is the future, and that is where MLS is headed, and I can't say enough good things about everyone involved in the league that has helped get us to this point, and that's even the players beforehand that we're making peanuts and that continue to grind, and we're taking commercial flights everywhere. So now these guys can come on and put on a show and show how far the league has come. I can't say enough good things about it. I'm just happy to be involved in it and happy to have had a career in Major League Soccer.
Such great conversations. And Nick, this is about to be getting underway. 8:30 is the kickoff for tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a halftime show I have to mention as well. Sierra, we're going to be 1-2 stepping tonight. It's going to be a really fun time here, I think.
Yeah, your goalie footwork might help you out more with that. But yeah, this has been a blast to have MLS in town, not just tonight, but all week, and all the conversations we had about this game, the stars that were here, and Charlotte FC. I'm excited for the second half of their season to see that playoff push and hopefully get back into that top 4.
Yeah, that's the best feeling, though, knowing that, yes, the World Cup is over. We've been building up for this for so long, but there is still a lot of soccer left to be played. And if we know anything about Charlotte FC, they know how to be interesting towards the end of their season. All right, that is us from Bank of America Stadium. For Nick Carboni, I'm Danielle Stein. Thanks so much for joining us.